Please be seated. The court is now back in session. Now the chamber will hear the presentation of reparations in case at 002/02. The chamber notifies all parties via memorandum number E352/2 dated 10 June 2016, and also the senior legal officer of the trial chamber emails the parties regarding the matter. The chamber would like to give the floor now to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to make presentation of the reparations. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all of you. We are going to present to you today the reparation projects that are now in the process, that are being elaborated in Case 2.2. And we are going to present to you 9 projects that have been prioritized. 8 of them are already ready to be implemented in the context of this case. Before I present the projects one by one, I would like to provide you with a procedural reminder in order to remind the accused, as well as the people in the courtroom, as well as in the public, the context in which these reparation projects are being implemented. And then I will begin by presenting a certain number of projects, and my colleague Ong Pik will present the rest with regard to these projects. First, I would like to provide you with a reminder so that Kyo Sompan Nunchia may understand what we are doing regarding this issue of reparations. We are operating within the context of Rule 23 Quinquies bis of the internal rules that indicates that if one of the accused is convicted, moral and collective reparations may be awarded to the civil parties. These reparations may be at the expense of the accused, and it's in this context that, or the chamber may decide to recognize that a specific project constitutes an appropriate response to a reparation request. This procedural context, which is specific to the ECCC, has 2 consequences, which are important for the accused and their counsel to understand. The first being that given the indigence of the accused, they will not be requested to shoulder the financial cost of these projects. The implementation of the projects and is financially neutral for the accused. The projects are being developed with NGOs or with the government, and they are financed by outside sources. The accused are not requested to contribute to the financing of their projects, given the fact that they are indigent. The second thing that's important to understand is that the reparation projects that are proposed to you today will only become judicial reparations if at least one of the accused is convicted for at least one of the crimes for which he is being tried. So in order to be very clear about this, before a final conviction, these projects are implemented as proposals, and they will only become judicial reparations with a final conviction if there is such a conviction. And the second thing that I would like to explain is a little bit what differentiates a reparation project from a classical NGO project regarding the Khmer Rouge. And I would like to explain here the methodology that we have implemented so that these reparation projects be true judicial reparation projects. The identification process for the projects is based on the civil parties' wishes, and we conducted a large consultation process since 2010, since the creation of the co-lead lawyer unit. The beneficiaries of the project must be the civil parties above all, even if they are secondary beneficiaries to these projects. And the content of these projects that are being developed have to be in line with what is being said in this courtroom and in line with the crimes for which the accused are being tried in case 2.2. And the projects that we are developing are connected and are in line with the fundamental principles of the United Nations in terms of reparations, which are principles that date back to 2005 and that acknowledge a few major categories of reparations. Let me give you a few examples which we rested on to develop the projects that we're presenting to you. First, the guarantees of non-repetition. Which projects can we imagine so that the facts that are now being tried are not reproduced and are included in these projects linked to education, projects linked to intergenerational dialogue. And you also have satisfaction projects that include access to the archives or the distribution of the judgment, and there are also rehabilitation projects, which in our case concern support projects, medical support or psychological support projects offered to the civil parties. So as I was saying in my introduction, what is really important and what is at the heart of the definition of these projects is consultation with the civil parties. It is this consultation with the civil parties that guided us in the identification and the prioritization of the reparation projects. But so that this consultation to take place, we are, of course, confronting practical obstacles and financial obstacles, and I would like to say a few words about this so that the Chamber be also aware of the difficulties we are facing when we organize these consultations, so that the civil parties once again be at the heart of the identification and prioritization process. First of all, we have to indicate that the Tribunal's administration has no budget to organize such consultations with the civil parties. And you have seen that the number of teams of counsels has been reduced, and that the financing of these teams has also been reduced. And you know that VSS has its own budget, and that this section is developing its own programs, and these programs are not necessarily in agreement with what the co-lead lawyers are doing. I'm saying this so that the Chamber may understand that it is sometimes difficult to organize these consultations. And I would like to thank the German Service for Peace, which concretely allowed us, in cooperation with VSS, to organize 4 consultations in remote provinces where it's sometimes difficult to go meet the civil parties, specifically so that these projects may be explained to them and so that we can discuss these projects with the civil parties. So to be clear, we are obliged to do in-depth research so that the consultation process may happen in the most efficient way possible. Thanks to the German Civil Service for Peace, we were able to organize 4 consultations in Kampot, Mandalkiri, Banti Menchei, and in July in Kokong, with, of course, the support, the logistical and administrative support of VSS. And the forums developed by VSS also allowed us to explain and to discuss and to prioritize the reparation projects with the civil parties, which means that in total we were able to organize 10 forums where we were able to discuss the projects that we are going to propose to you today. It is important as well to indicate that we have invited NGOs and governmental organizations with which we are working, so that they may organize consultations by themselves with the civil parties at the beginning of the implementation process of these projects, so that these projects be completely in line with the judicial reparations that we wish to request from the Chamber in this case. So how were things organized in this process? First, we discussed with the civil parties, and on the other hand, we discussed with the NGOs and with the current Cambodian government, so that we may see how the civil party wishes could meet the practical projects that are being implemented by the NGOs or by the government. Today we have selected 9 projects. 8 of these are ready to be implemented. That is to say that there is sufficient financing so that their implementation begins as soon as we are speaking now. And we have taken into account a certain number of criteria that we will explain in the written report that we will provide to the Chamber, the link with the case, Tutu, and the crimes for which the accused are being tried, and the benefits that are granted to the consolidated group of civil parties, the benefits that are granted to the specific groups of the civil parties, the Cham, the Vietnamese, the minorities, the victims of forced marriage, the Buddhists, and we have taken into account the issue of the feasibility of these projects, the existence or not of a budget, of course, and of course the presence of necessary funds to begin these projects, and general complementarity between projects, so that we may propose to you a coherent total of projects and avoid redundancy between different projects. And therefore today we have 9 projects, and there might be others. We wish to present to you the projects that can be started today, so that we can show to you the progress that we have made since the last temporary report that dates back a few months now. And we're presenting to you projects first based on what we call guarantees of non-repetition, which is a kind of reparation that is enshrined in international statutes, and in particular 3 projects linked to education and the apprenticeship of the Khmer Rouge project. The 3 projects that we're developing are with NGOs that have contacts with the Ministry of Education, so that these projects may be implemented in high schools and in universities all over Cambodia. And we're presenting to you today as well 3 projects on specific groups which we spoke about: the Cham, the ethnic minorities, and the victims of forced marriages. And 1 project on rehabilitation, which deals in particular with medical support to certain civil parties who, for many of them, are aged, and 3 projects that we call projects linked to satisfaction, which is also a category of judicial reparations that is acknowledged in international statutes, and that revolves around access to the Tribunal's archives and to the distribution of the judgments. And I'm going to present 4 projects, and then I will give the floor to my colleague so that he may present the 5 remaining projects. And I'm going to start with the non-repetition category, and therefore the projects that concern education and learning Khmer Rouge history. And we wanted these 3 projects to be complementary, so therefore there is a first project which is implemented by the Bopana Audiovisual Center, and which is focused on the development of educational content, and in particular the creation of app, web app with all of the elements contained in the case file. So educational content for the first project, training of teachers for the second project. This is a project that is supported by DCCAM. And third project is a project, an educational project in the broader sense of the word, and it's also an artistic project that is supported by Meta House, which is a young Cambodian organization, part of Meta House, called Young Cambodian Arts. Let me start with the first project, which is a project from Bopana. And the title of the project is, might sound a bit strange in French, and is Web Application of Khmer Rouge History Education. And Bopana Center is going to develop a web application that is going to explore the the main issues and the crimes that are at the heart of Case 22, and that will include training models, education models, and films, archival films in particular, photographs, articles, civil party testimony, images of the trial, documents, and audio files that are also based on what is being discussed right now in Case 2.2. Now, regarding this project, we have organized a consultation, as I explained at the very beginning of my presentation. On the 24th of June, Bopana is going to come discuss with 100 civil parties to explain the project, and so that the civil parties may fully grasp the project. The second project that I'd like to present is the project regarding the training of teachers, that teachers in high schools and in universities. This is a project that we're developing with DCCAM, and DCCAM is proposing to organize training all over Cambodia for school teachers as well as for university professors with respect to Khmer Rouge history. And the third project, the third educational project, is a community project which is proposed by Meta House, and which developed a community theater play that was written by young Cambodian authors who are working for Khmer Action Art. And this is a theater play that stresses the acts of courage and resistance and of solidarity that occurred during the decay period. And following this play, which will be performed in all in schools and high schools throughout Cambodia, discussions will be organized between young people and the civil parties. And there will also be a photo show, film screenings, a drawing competition, and a multimedia tour, roadshow. The idea of this project is to promote intergenerational dialogue and so that the generation that experienced decay may speak to the young generation, which sometimes is not very much aware of what happened during that period. So these projects are supposed to be complementary, and these three projects are going to be, or can be implemented as we speak now, and will be implemented throughout all of Cambodia. And to finish now, I'd like to present the first project, which concerns what we call the specific groups, because the internal rules obliges us to take into account the harm suffered by specific groups. And I'm going to present here a project that concerns the Cham. My colleague will present then a project concerning the victims of forced marriage and ethnic minorities. The first project concerning the Cham is also presented by the organization we know as Meta House, and which organize workshops between young filmmakers, young Cham filmmakers, and civil parties or victims or people who experienced the decay regime. The young filmmakers are going to make films that will then be produced and finalized under the supervision of professional filmmakers or documentary filmmakers, and an internet website will also be developed, and a DVD will be distributed. Therefore, I am done with the presentation of these 4 projects. Before I give the floor now to my colleague, I would like to thank, of course, the NGOs with which we are working, the fundraisers who are providing their support to these judicial reparations. Without these people and these organizations, it would be absolutely impossible to present to you today these projects. And once again, on this list, 8 of these projects are right now sufficiently financed so that their implementation may begin. So I believe I have finished my presentation, and now I will give the floor to my colleague so that he may present the remaining projects. But I would like to let you know once again that we're presenting to you today 9 projects, but that it is possible that other projects may be added to this list in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon, Your Honors. Good afternoon, everyone in and around the courtroom. I now present 5 additional reparation projects, that is to continue from where my colleague left off. The first project that I'd like to present is Ka Sla Kraum Ong Ka. It is about forced marriages under the Khmer Rouge regime. And the partner for the implementation of this project is Khmer Arts Academy in collaboration with Kdai Karuna, TPO, as well as Bopana Center. This project involved the following activities. That is, the project will produce a contemporary classical dance production using oral history and case studies of survivors. And it will explore the gendered impacts of forced marriage under the Khmer Rouge. And the classical dance will be performed in Phnom Penh or at other provinces. The production will be accompanied by community dialogues to be conducted pre- and post-performance. The project will also collect oral history testimonies to be permanently archived in relation to forced marriages under the Khmer Rouge regime. So that their stories of forced marriages under the Khmer Rouge regime will be disseminated and understood by the public. And as I stated, oral history testimonies will be collected to be permanently archived. We envisage key beneficiaries of the project will be civil parties who experience forced marriage and rape within those marriages, as well as unrepresented victims, their children and grandchildren, and the public generally. And the sixth project that I'd like to present is Voices from Ethnic Minorities. It aims to promote public awareness about the treatment of ethnic minorities during the Khmer Rouge regime. The partner for the implementation of the project is Kadai Karuna. Activities of the project included the following. It will use innovative approaches to facilitate community dialogues and conduct outreach events such as exhibitions, forum theater, public truth-telling, and oral history documentation. We envisage that key beneficiaries of the project include civil parties and other ethnic minority survivors of the Khmer Rouge, youth, community leaders, and the general public. The seventh project is entitled The Untold Stories of Civil Parties Participating in Case 002/02 at the ECCC, and partner for the project is CHRAC or CHRA. The objective of the project is to publish the personal accounts of civil parties, and there were about 30 of them who were admitted to participate in case 002/02, but who could not testify before the trial chamber. This project will produce an illustrated book of the stories of approximately 30 civil parties that will describe the suffering that they endured under the Khmer Rouge, and the books will be distributed to libraries throughout the country. The key beneficiaries include civil parties, the youth, the general public, as well as national and international researchers. The eighth project is under the heading of rehabilitation, and it is entitled Improving the Health and Mental Well-Being, and it particularly focuses on the health and mental well-being of civil parties, in particular those elderly people who are not civil parties. Partner for the implementation of the project is Help Age Cambodia. Activities for the implementation of the project include the following: to conduct capacity building training activities for health professionals and village health support group volunteers on mental and physical health care issues, as well as to provide mobile health camps to target communities. We envisage key beneficiaries includes the estimated 3,635 beneficiaries in 81 villages in 3 provinces. And the last project is the project that has been proposed to the royal government of Cambodia as part of the reparations. And the proposal was to go through the administrative body of the ECCC, and the ninth project labels Legal Documentation Center related to the ECCC, and the partner for this project is the Legal Documentation Center related to the ECCC, as well as Council of Ministers of the Kingdom of Cambodia. The objective of the project is to provide civil parties and victims of the Khmer Rouge access to the judicial records related to the Khmer Rouge trials, as well as to facilitate access and dissemination of publicly available civil party documents to the public and younger generation. These are the projects that we both present to your honors, and there are 9 projects, and in fact there are 4 additional projects that were part of the proposal to the royal government of Cambodia, including the public memorial center or museum for the victims of the Khmer Rouge, as we propose for the building of such memorial center or museum at Potivung Pagoda or Wat Thmai Pagoda in Trapeng Seh village, Kok Chok commune, Siem Reap district, Siem Reap province. Another project which was part of our proposal to the government is a public ceremony that we aim to have such a public ceremony in order to commemorate the victims of the Khmer Rouge regime, and that it should be commemorated at a location involved the victims or civil parties. For example, a location of significance in Siem Reap or Angkor Wat, and that prominent religious figures from all Cambodia's religious domination should attend. And another project is the preservation of crime sites, and the project aims to request the royal government of Cambodia in coordination with the Ministry of Culture and the Ministry of Tourism, preserve and place a sign at the crime sites within the scope of Case 002. And the last project that was part of the proposal to the government is a symbolic remaining of existing infrastructure. The project proposes that an existing public infrastructure, such as a public road, bridge, park, or garden, be renamed in order to honor the victims of the Khmer Rouge regime. The last 4 projects have been proposed to the government, and we are waiting for the government's response. As Mary Giro and I made in our presentation, we may add additional projects when we have concrete information or funding for the implementation of such projects. And Your Honor, I'd like to conclude my presentation now. Thank you. President, thank you, lead co-lawyers for civil parties. The Chamber will adjourn the proceedings today and resumed next week, that is Monday, 20 June 2016, starting from 9 o'clock in the morning. Next week on Monday, we'll continue to hear testimony of witness Kang Ka-il alias Duch, security personnel. Is there a problem? Is there interpretation problem? Please check the French interpretation channel. Once again, the chamber will adjourn the proceeding now and resumed on Monday, 20 June 2016, starting from 9 o'clock in the morning. And on Monday next week, the chamber continues to hear testimony of witness Cam Gayev alias Doge. Security personnel, you are instructed to take the accused Nunchi and Kisampon back to the detention facility and have them returned to attend the proceedings next Monday before 9 o'clock in the morning. The court is now adjourned.